Hey everyone, so today we are going to be trying out a deck that has been doing pretty well in the recent metagame. So if you don't already know, that is a subreddit called GeniusInvokationTCG, and there are a bunch of people who are organizing a weekly tournament in the Asia, European, and American servers. So the deck that we are trying out today is the Ayaka Freeze build that went 5-0 in the Asia tournament. Shout out to Tinn, who created and piloted this deck really well. And yeah, I thought it would just be cool to, look into these different decks, try them out, try to figure out what they're supposed to do and what makes them tick. And yeah, maybe just expand my horizons because I have a very particular playstyle when it comes to TCG, so I just want to see, what has been working well for other people. But yeah, if you haven't already checked out the subreddit, I do think it is worth doing so because they have lots of match reports, discussions, guides, about which heroes overperform, underperform, etc., etc. So it's definitely worth having a look. So I have the deck set up in my Genshin account. It is a Ayaka Freeze deck with Ayaka, Chongyun, and Xingqiu. So I would describe this deck as pretty much a aggro control build, whereby you are trying to use Xingqiu to apply a Hydro reaction or Hydro application to your opponent, and then you use Ayaka or Chongyun to freeze your opponent. When you are able to freeze them, you basically achieve two things. Firstly, you apply chip damage and apply that sort of aggro pressure on your opponent. The second thing that you do when you freeze them is that you force them to swap out to another character. And in the best case scenario, when they swap out to another character, you're basically wasting a turn for them. So let's look at the heroes and what they do. So for Xingqiu, I think his most efficient and reliable way of applying Hydro is Rain Cutter. Because with Rain Cutter, essentially you deal one Hydro damage, but you also create one Rainbow Blade work. What it does is that whenever one of your characters use a normal attack, you deal two extra Hydro damage for up to 3 times. So this works really well with Ayaka and Chongyun, especially for Ayaka because when you swap into Ayaka, she has a passive ability that allows her to have Cyro Elemental Infusion. So what that means is that by default, the moment you swap into Ayaka for that particular turn, her normal attack is changed from a physical damage attack to a Cyro damage attack. So one of the combos that you have is that you set up the Hydro application with Xingqiu, you swap into Ayaka, and then you use Kabuki, which is her first normal attack, so Ayaka would attack with Kabuki and that would deal Cyro damage instead of physical damage. And then with the Rain Cutter, you'll be dealing Hydro damage as well, and that basically freezes your opponent's active character. So I do think this is probably the most reliable way, I would say, of applying Rain Cutter. I say this is more reliable than Fatal Rain Screen because while Fatal Rain Screen is pretty good because it deals 2 damage and creates a Rain Sword. Basically, a Rain Sword is a shield that decreases damage taken by 1 from if your opponent is trying to deal at least 3 damage to your character. So it is a shield, it is good, but my issue with this is that the moment Xingqiu uses this, he gains Hydro application, which means that he has Hydro around him. So the worst case scenario that can happen here is that you are using Xingqiu, you're trying to set up a big turn by applying Hydro, by setting up Ayaka, etc. etc. What happens here is that you use Rain Screen, Xingqiu gives Hydro application to himself, and then your opponent reads your move, and then they deal Hydro to you. And what that means is that Xingqiu is being frozen by his own effect, and you would not be able to set up Rain Cutter, which applies Hydro consistently for the next 3 attacks. And it also means that you have to swap Xingqiu out into another character. So I don't really like Fatal Rain Screen. I've tried this deck about 3-4 times online now, and if I'm trying to set up Xingqiu, what I'll do is that I'll probably just use School Hostile to attack the opponent to set up for 2 energy so that I can use Rain Cutter in the next turn. Well, of course, if you can tell that your opponent can't really threaten any sort of elemental reaction, um, yeah, feel free to use Fatal Rain Screen. But yeah, there is a risk involved there. The other setup character that we have here is Chongyun. I think he is a pretty cool character because with his elemental skill, essentially you do 3 damage. You do 3 Cyro damage and then you create 1 Chonghua Frost Field. So what this is that it is an effect that lasts for 2 rounds and it converts your sword, claymore, and polearm physical attacks into Cyro damage. So this is really good because essentially you can use this and you can convert Chongyun's Demon Bane from a physical damage attack to a Cyro damage attack. So with Xingqiu's Rain Cutter and with Chongyun's Demon Bane, you are now able to, have that freeze combo against your opponent again, right? And this particular elemental skill, this Frost View, is not just useful for Chongyun, it's also useful for Ayaka because the thing about Ayaka is that with her passive skill, she gains Cyro Infusion until the end of the round, right? But what could happen here is that you swap in Ayaka, you use her to attack, and then you leave her as the active character, and you end your turn. What this means is that in the next turn, if Rain Cutter is still active, Ayaka can try to deal physical damage through the use of Kabuki, but you will not be able to freeze your opponent because you no longer have Cyro Infusion, right? So this is why Chongyun's Layered Frost ability is actually pretty good for Ayaka as well, because essentially if you set it up, you swap it to Ayaka for whatever reason, and if Ayaka is your first attacker in the next turn, at least it guarantees that she will still have that Cyro Infusion, and she will still be able to activate the freeze effect by combining her attack with the Rain Cutter from Xingqiu. So there are lots of nuances here in these 3 heroes, lots to think about. But yeah, I think those are some of the few key combos here. So looking at the deck, what you can, from the breakdown of team here, looking at that, you can probably tell that it is pretty important for you to be dealing uh, physical damage and using your normal attack, right? The reason for that is because Rain Cutter only activates when the character uses a normal attack. So if I am Ayaka and I have Rain Cutter applied on me, even if I use the elemental skill, I don't necessarily freeze my opponent because um, using the elemental skill does not activate Rain Cutter. So what you want to do is that you want to be able to spam as many of your normal attacks as possible, and you also want to be um, increasing, the damage you're threatening through the use of your normal attacks. So that can be done in a couple of ways in this deck. Um, the first one is Minty Meat Roast. Basically, before the round ends, if you use this, the target character's normal attack costs 1 less underlying element. So what this means is that, if you know that you're setting up for a huge normal attack turn, basically you can use Minty Min Roast. You swap over to Ayaka, uh, you have Rain Cutters online. If you use this, essentially it makes your normal attacks much, much cheaper, which enables you to attack, to apply your normal attack for, I think, 3 times through the cost of 7 gems, rather than attacking twice with the cost of 6 gems. So that is one tech that I thought was pretty good. The other one is Elemental Resonance Shattering Eyes. This is pretty good as well because it means that if you pay 1, your current active character will deal +2 damage for the next instance. So basically, this allows you to go beyond that breakpoint and deal a lot of damage against your opponents. And this is important because in the current meta game, I've been playing around a little bit. In the current meta game, people are realizing that these aggro decks, like this Ayaka Freeze deck and the Ayamiya decks, are getting really, really popular. So there are lots of food decks around, there are lots of shield decks around, and therefore being able to threaten that damage would be super helpful. But one thing that I after playing it 3 times, and I might change my mind later, but one thing I don't really like is the fact that you don't really have that many instant swap-ins. Um, the good thing about Ayaka is that you can use her specialization, and when you switch over to Ayaka, you can spend one less elemental dice. So that means that, you know, from a resource perspective, it's very efficient to swap into Ayaka. But it also means that, you know, I only have one Catherine and one Leave It to Me to enable me to swap into Ayaka or swap into any other character instantaneously. I don't really like that because essentially it means that you are leaving your new active character open to damage, and you're also leaving them open to any sort of elemental application, which might, you know, cause further issues down the line. If I could make any changes to this deck, I would probably take out both Libans. This is a very controversial opinion, I think, because Liban is considered one of the best cards in the game, because it basically collects your unused dice, and you know it converts them into omni element dice and two cards in future turns. But the reason why I think we might be able to cut Liban for, you know, another Catherine, another Leave It to Me, because this is a very elemental dice efficient deck. This is very resource efficient deck. Because what you want to do is that you want to be, you know, using your normal attacks as much as possible, right? And for your normal attacks, usually you can use up to two unaligned element dice. So it means that I don't really need much dice fixing, I think, for this particular deck. And since it's so resource efficient, I think usually you end your rounds with, you know, not many dice for Liban to pick up anyway. So if I could make any changes, I think the key thing I would change here is to swap him for one more Catherine and one more Leave It to Me. But I am just going to try out this deck as is, and yeah, see how it goes. So let's go into the match. So this is basically a vaporized deck with Mona, Oceanid, and Fatui Agent. With this starting hand, so with Mona, Oceanid, Fatui Agent, they will probably go out with Mona or Oceanid first, probably Mona, because Mona wants to have that, uh, uh, probably want to set up their Mirror Reflection of Doom. Um, Any case, I think I would go with Chongyun first because I want to deal Pyro damage. So what I would do is that I would probably swap out the hash brown. I would leave the rest on because send off is actually a really good counter against Oceanid. So let's just see how that goes. Okay, so they go with Oceanid first. Try to get some Cryo dice, which we do hit. Okay. So by using Search and Summoning, they deal damage, but they don't freeze themselves. So what I want to do is to play... I would probably not play Chang first because I would not be dealing any physical damage or dealing any elemental reaction, so I might want to save it to fix a dice in the future. So what I want to do is that I want to deal cryo damage to Ocean. A touch of frost! Okay.
Water's form is ever changing!
So I will be able to choose, if I use Send Off, I'll be able to choose one summon on that side and destroy it. I will probably want to do this, and I want to destroy the one that is dealing damage because I don't want to get any Kyro application on me. And what I'll actually do now is maybe just set up for next turn because the thing is my opponent only has 2 dice left, so if I pass it to them, they will probably just enter and get first mover advantage. I would probably want to go for Paimon to set up for future turns and just play Charm the ninth, and then I'll just end my turn. So it seems that this is a rather tanky build that they have, because they are getting all of these different shoes from, from Mona, from Oceanid. The Pyro agent has a passive shoe as well, which can be annoying, but Looking at the current situation, I think it might be the right time to switch over to Xingqiu and try to get Rain Cutter set up. Yep, I think that's what I'm gonna do. Oof, okay, that's not good. But it's okay, I think we can fix the dice anyway due to Paimon's ability. So I am going to play a Liuzu first, so that when I swap over to Xingqiu, I will be able to get
Chivalry will never die.
1 energy online.
Mirror the myriad.
Okay, looks like they are trying to summon more things to do Hydro to us, which is not good, but yeah. I'm just gonna go for Star Signs. And then play this and freeze it.
Let me weave you a verse.
What do I want to do next? I think what I want to do, I want to freeze their Pyro agent as well, I think. So I can do this. And because Chongyun helped me to set up that feud, I can basically just freeze him right now. And is the frog dead? No, the frog is not dead. Oh well. So he'll probably waste a turn, I think, to swap into Mona. If he does, it's good for us. So that we can end the turn and start next. Unless he just sets up here and ends his turn now. Sorry, or her turn. Sorry, I'm just assuming. Alright, okay, so they changed over to Mona, so which I like, so I'm just gonna end my turn here. Huh, okay. Trying to get more frogs in. Pretty annoying, but it is what it is. But it seems like they are just doing a tanky build and doesn't seem like they're running much recovery. Yikes. Okay, so with the current situation, I no longer have Chongyun's feud. In order to freeze Mona, I would need to swap over to Ayaka, but I can't do any quick swaps yet. So this is what I was telling you guys about. I don't really like how I don't have any quick swaps. So, but regardless, I am going to swap into Ayaka anyway. So with that in mind, I am going to reroll all of these. Okay, that's a pretty good roll. So, what do I want to do here? I can either go Ayaka now, or I can just do more damage now. Do Cyro. Do Hydro damage across the board. Is it worth the rain color? Oh, I think I want to get the damage in. So we have Ayaka now. Good. So hopefully they'll either use Mona's skill or they'll swap out. I'm hoping that they swap out so that we can switch over to Ayaka with the Leave It To Me and freeze them next.
Let me
Okay,
scry!
interesting. So that might change the way that we want to do things here. Thinking if I want to do a Leave It To Me. If I do a Leave It To Me, I'm gonna go into Mona to swap over to someone else. Yeah, let's do Leave It To Me.
Kamisato Ayaka, present.
But they already have the water hydro application. I don't want to waste the rain cutter, so I'm going to use this thing.
Whirling snow!
Okay. Swap over as a fast action. Is that a passive? I don't know. Okay, but anyway.
River carving wreck!
Ooh,
Pardon
that's
my
big. Okay, that was a
indiscretion.
mistake. Let me think.
Present.
I think what I want to do is that I want to continue setting up.
Forth, my blade.
Issues. Nice, this is a good team. Yeah, it's not looking so hot. So, all of these will be useless to me because I only want Pyro and Hydro. Okay. If they do a quick swap into Power Agent, we are in big trouble.
In the image of the
Okay.
wilderness.
Actually, don't mind this. Because this allows me to freeze the Power Agent. Is there anything else I want to do here? Yeah, that's a bit chunky. Freeze the guy. So swapped over to Mona. What do I want to do here? I'm one damage short. I don't really want to waste the burst on Mona. This will do 1 damage, 2 damage. How many does this do damage? No, it doesn't do damage. Okay, never mind. I am taking no prisoners.
Spirit Blade! Attack!
My reckoning.
Because right now he
Has
has to
come.
go into Oceanid. Oh, he doesn't. Okay. What does this do? This allows me to attack him. And I end, and I take 3 damage from this. So I don't die, I think. Oh no, he used 2
After
damage.
all
Ah,
that
okay, that
training.
then.
May knowledge guide you.
Yeah. This is gonna be a problem. Yeah, so now you know, guys. The frog deals damage, okay. I think he deals enough damage to take me out anyway, doesn't he? He's gonna do... Ah, maybe not, maybe not, maybe not. I might be able to freeze them both. We'll see. So he's gonna swap. So what I want to do... I'm gonna throw his calcs off, and then I'm gonna set up this thing.
Rain outlines your
Some
fate.
shoes. And I'm gonna swap this out.
Not water too. Where is the pure land?
Okay, so he might be able to set out his burst, but I might be able to... I think it's gonna be, what, 5 damage plus... 5 plus 2 minus 1. Right. Oh, hang on, am I going first? Oh no. Yep. Sorry. Yep, so might be able to freeze him down. So he attacks first, probably with his burst. He would threaten to deal 7 minus 1 damage. I should live, I think, unless he has some sort of card that can increase his damage. Ah, okay. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, that was a very, very close one. GG's. I think this was a super long video, so I might just stop here. But yeah, this was an interesting deck. I guess you can kind of see how a novice like me played it, made it work. But let's go through it again. I genuinely think, I mean, we can go through the footage again and see how many leftover elemental dice I had throughout the entire game. But I genuinely think that this deck is efficient enough to cut Libin, to bring in Catherine and leave it to me, or even when the swans come back or something. Um, I might, because the thing is, with the way that the team is set up, right? You have Xingqiu here, Ayaka here. Essentially, you can set up a rain cutter, use use the when the swans come back, set up rain cutter, automatically go into Ayaka, and then that way you can freeze your opponent immediately. So I think if I could make a couple of changes, I might swap these two out. I might swap changing shifts out as well. Um, yeah, might swap these two out because I don't think I really need that one less elemental dice. Uh, because, or at least based on my current playstyle, right? I don't like spending I don't like spending a card just to swap in my character to take a free hit. So I would rather use Leave It to Me or When the Swans Come, spend that dice to 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 swap in my character, and then yeah, get those combo and damage and tempo going. So yeah, one card I haven't really tried is the Transformer because I haven't really seen it. I don't know what my opinion on this card is. I've never used it before, but I've seen it in lots of top decks, so they must know something I don't. But yeah, long story short, the card Liban, card changing shifts, at least for me. And yeah, I think there's a pretty solid deck. I might play a few more games with it next time. But yeah, thanks for watching. And if you have any opinions about the deck, about the gameplay, about certain plays I made, maybe it's things I should have done a little bit differently, do let me know. We'll be keen to hear your thoughts. And yeah, thank you everyone. See you later.